James Woods can say is, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy. When a Bowen turned into a vampire, all James Woods could say was, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy. When he became Peter's best friend, they sat around the house and said, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy. And you know that James Woods prices lingerie well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy. When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy. When they know that he's next to the best of them all, when he says, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy. Reese's Pieces on the floor and watch him come a saying, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy, ooh, a piece of candy. And you know that James Woods prices lingerie well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, a piece of candy,
we have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest.
I am a revolutionary, and you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people.
As a councilwoman, do you think you should really be in handcuffs? Does that send a good message? You're breaking the law?
This is about political leadership. All the best activists in the past and in the present have put their lives on the line to fight for the rights of workers.
They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table to figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
Hey, there we go. How's everybody doing out there in the Magic TV land? This is your Uncle Warren here. Oh boy, rain in Brooklyn right now. We just got a band of showers coming through. Little wet outside, so don't think it's gonna mess with us as far as the sound is concerned. At least I hope not. Welcome back. We had a good show last week, and I know we're going to have a great one this week. We got an awesome guest. We're going to get to her in just a second. First, reading from the Book of Life here. Some shout-outs for my guys, the Hamburger Hobos there with the first couple songs. In the intro there, B-15 and Hard on Candy. That second song is my favorite of theirs because it's about that James Wood episode of Family Guy, and he's going around going, ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. And this fucker's made a song about it. It's fucking awesome. The last song, Gonna Find Her by the Gamaguchi, some great friends of mine out of Bangor, Maine, I believe so. Blue collar guys, blue collar music. Awesome stuff. Good guys, too. Also want to give a shout-out to Reef Breland and Indy from IndependentLeft.news. Great guys. They have a show on midnight. That's the Saturday going into Sunday midnight. How did we miss that? It's on YouTube. I highly recommend that everybody check that out. And speaking of awesome shows, we have with us tonight, she's a journalist, activist, organizer, political analyst. She's been to the moon twice. She's the co-host of the Convo Couch. Ladies and germs, Miss Fam.
Hey.
Fiorella.
Fam.
Hey. Fam.
What's going on?
Hello, doll. Welcome to the Terror Dome.
Well, thank you for having me.
You took down all your goodies. Now I gotta put all your goodies back up. That's okay. Your name goodies. So you have your the seal of the Convo Couch seal of approval that you have in front of you with your name on there.
Yeah,
it's okay.
No, it's great. You can see it in the pillow too. The Convo Couch pillow.
That's good branding. That's good branding. All about the branding these days. Yes.
Thank you for having me on. This is cool. I like having conversations that aren't interviews all the time. So yeah.
Well, I caught you last night on Misty's show, Bitch, which is an awesome show. And
it is.
It really is. It's amazing.
Great name too.
I know, and she gets to
what are we bitching about today, Misty? Just nice. It's cathartic.
Well, you gotta have that because especially nowadays with everything is just so crazy and everything is just frustrating as hell, and with the times that are you don't really know. At first you think, well, maybe this person is cool, and then the next thing you know, the mask comes off, and you're like, ah! It's just like that movie They Live. You put on the glasses and you see. Oh my God,
we were talking about that movie yesterday. Pasta wanted to watch it, but we watched The Matrix instead. And let me just say, I have not, since seeing The Matrix years ago. It was one of the movies I saw when I was a child, but like when I watched it, before, it had a certain meaning. Watching it now with everything that's happening, I'm like, holy shit. It's a totally different experience.
The shit's pretty prophetic, kind of like that, like that movie. What was it? Idiocracy. That was another one that predicted the future. Oh, you never seen that? Oh, that's that. It's pretty much a documentary at this point. It just the premise is like dude wakes up, like 500 years in the future, and everybody is just stupid as hell, and he has like an average intelligence. So he, he's the genius. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So he's
right.
But it's as you see the shit that the stupid people and the stupid people in government do. You're like, wait a minute, this. I don't think this is gonna happen 500 years from now. This might happen 500 minutes from now at the rate we're going.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad. I was talking about it with Misty yesterday, like how bad things are. And, watching your intro and hearing George Carlin say those words, that's prophetic. I mean, that's exactly where we're at now. And like, you can tell people that, the predator class owns you. You can tell them that these politicians are not your friends. And we've been seeing a lot of revelations with politicians from, AOC to Bernie Sanders to now Tulsi Gabbard is, showing her whatever her aim is. I don't know, but it's all these politicians that, people thought were progressive at some point. Nina Turner, all these people have like pretty much just like turned their back and like, they're like, I got to take care of my own. Or like, that's what it seems like, right? They're trying to kind of like build some sort of branding out of the movement, out of the working class movement without doing anything for the people. And it's really telling and it's really obvious. And there are people that want to continue worshiping public servants as, celebrities. And there are those of us that are like, that's it, we're done. I mean, I don't know if you need a meme, but there was a meme that had like Grease, right? John Travolta and Sandy in it, and it was like they were in the car, and there was a meme that had them like switched into Uma Thurman and John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, like looking all raggedy and drag. That's how I feel like the last 6 years have been. It's like where I was in 2015 to where I am now is just entirely. It's just different. Like I'm the same. Like I'm the same person. Like in my, moral values, but I'm like completely fucking done. I want to see a gigantic, like, I don't know, like gulags. I want a lot of these warmongers to pay for what they've done, and us to really take back what belongs to the people, because they've pretty much eroded not just every money wise, economic wise, but like our civil liberties are being trampled on every fucking day. So
oh yeah, it's definitely getting worse now. At first they started off with social media censorship, and then but they were starting that business even before. I don't call it C, I call it the woogie boogie. So as Pasta calls it the boop boop, I call it the boogie, the woogie boogie on here because fuck YouTube. And but yeah, before the woogie boogie and the jibba jab, they were already doing that censorship bullshit. And now, you see what's going on in Australia with those people, and that's just kind of like the whole world is watching that and saying, okay, is that shit gonna happen here? But the good thing is, like, people like you with the Convo Couch and shows like Slow News Day and Frank Analysis and Hardlands Media and all these shows, all these great independent news shows are really putting a counterbalance on it as far as like what's going against like the mainstream media propaganda, which is relentless, and it's really hard to climb that mountain because that mountain's been around for so long, especially since the Reagan era. That's when Reagan took office, and all the nationalism and all the Red Dawn movies and Rocky IV, and he's fighting the Russian at the end, all that bullshit. Yeah. That started then, and it's just been nothing but building up, and they've been building on that ever since. And so now here we are in 2021, and like the independent media, which probably I would say in earnest started around 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe, as far as like starting to dig their heels in and starting to counteract that. So it's kind of a Sisyphus thing, like we're pushing the rock up the hill, 3 feet, and then we get pushed back 2 feet. But we're pushing the rock up. It's just taking a little bit. I think we're going to get there. So, but what I wanted to ask you about was like, with all this, you're not new on the block or anything. Even before you were doing activism and whatnot, I'm sure you were aware of what was going on. So, what led you to get on this journey, to be an activist, to be a journalist, and to do what you do?
Right. So I went to school for journalism and PR, and I quickly did not like PR because it's that quote. It's like, journalism is writing about what they don't want you to write about, or talking about what they don't want you to talk about. Everything else is public relations. So I quickly learned that I'm not a PR person because I don't like fake. I don't like anything that's like just, focused on the branding and the perception. I want to get to the fucking truth. And so I went to school for that and writing, and I started out writing for like more like lifestyle, like for like reviews of hotels, reviews of theater, and all these things while I was in LA, and I was doing, acting. And that world really turned me off in LA. Like, it usually does the opposite to people. You know, people get really enamored with that sort of lifestyle. But because I've never liked anything super fake, like, it was like, that's pretty much what it came across. And I had to you had to network and talk to people and just constantly, as a woman, just be like, you know, looked at as, in general, actors, but women in particular, as you just meat. Right. And you're just like a prop. And there was really Hollywood has gone downhill so much recently. But even before that, like, the roles that were out there were just awful. And I just did not like that lifestyle in comparison, while simultaneously seeing like what was going on in the streets. Because even 8 years ago, because I moved to LA 8 years ago, there was homelessness already. Right. Like, there was a housing crisis already. There were people in the streets. There was Skid Row. Now, obviously, that's expanded to like the ultimate level. But even before then, I would see so many wealthy people and so much like superficiality and focus on so many things that are just blatantly superficial. And then see that mixed with a bunch of people who can't afford to like have a roof over their head. And it was just like, wow, it was kind of like revealing to me. And then, of course, Bernie Sanders ran for office, and that like is really like what got me into sort of politics itself, to the point of that. I mean, I had voted for Obama before and obviously had been disappointed. I didn't really feel too much of the downfall because I was in school when the crash happened. So I was still in college, but everybody would talk about how like it was going to be tough when we graduated because of how the economy was still recuperating. And, you know, I knew so many people who had lost their homes and all of that. And I was more into like, at that point, I was more into like questioning. I've always been questioning of authority. Like when last night when I was watching the movie, when the boss, Neo's boss, when he was Mr. Anderson, was like, you have a problem with authority. I was like, how many times I've been told that? Like, because you know, like I say, I'm like anti-authoritarian because it's like, it's true. Like, it's like, I don't believe that we should have some sort of boss, like a president, and have no rights to fight back against that. Right. Even in a corporate world, I've never worked in a cubicle 9-to-5 type of job. That's not something I could ever do. And so I knew that. And so like, I really just kind of built upon that because politics, Bernie Sanders, what he was saying just like spoke to me. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm not alone. There's a lot of people who feel this way, right? And they have a fucking problem with what's going on. And so like with Bernie, it just kind of, in 2016, it felt different than it did in 2020, because in 2016, you had like him talking to Republicans and you had him talking to people across the aisle. And I was like, this is good because he's going to bring in people who have been blaming immigrants and who have been, you know, just blaming the wrong person and not the people at the top. And so that's how I got really involved in the Bernie movement. And, you know, after Bernie, when Bernie freaking endorsed Hillary Clinton, and I had friends who were there that day in Philly, right? I was like, just devastated. I think like I cried for like weeks. Like it was like I broke up with somebody too. Like it was like that. Like it was just like this, like, oh my God, like Bernie just ripped my heart out, right? And like now I'm at the point where like I am like, screw Bernie. Like, and so after that, I was like, something's got to happen. We can't just allow this to like go down. And so I was also working as a cocktail waitress and a bartender too, because that was what allowed me to audition. And like, you would make decent money. And I find people who have worked in the service industry extremely like aware of things, right? It was funny. I was talking to Misty yesterday and we, you know, when Steve and Misty and I and Pasta and a few others have all worked in the service industry before this. So it's really interesting how that came about. But I met Pasta at a work where I was working. Somebody told him I was a Bernie supporter and he like shouted Bernie. And I was like, Bernie. And like, you know, then he went back to Florida because his one of his relatives passed away, and I was like, I need to do something, and I had been wanting to do some sort of create my own shit, because if you're gonna sit around and wait for somebody to create something for you, I've always been creative, you're just gonna wait forever. Like, you have to be, if you're a creative person, like, you have a desire to create. So I spoke to Pasta. We decided we were going to do a show. We found this production company that we're still friends with the people to this day. They're amazing people. And then we did it once a week at a studio. It was beautiful. We had multiple cameras. I got my makeup done, but it obviously was extremely expensive because we were like funding it ourselves. And then we were only going on Facebook for a while, right? And that was late 2017, almost 2018. And so then we started when Johnny came to visit me. He was supposed to stay 2 weeks, and he's still here. So
that's a long 2 weeks. Yeah.
So he was he's a rocket. Well, he graduated with a degree in aerospace engineering, right?
Oh wow,
so
cool.
He was gonna go into all those jobs, every single fucking job that you get, unless it's like for like NASA, it's for the defense industry. Like, and those are the best paying jobs. And so he was like looking for jobs in the defense industry. And then we were like, can you help us out? Our tech guy was not working out. It was somebody else. And he had like really would not show up sometimes. It was not a good fit. And so then Johnny was like, oh, okay, let me see if I can figure this out. It seems pretty simple. So he picked it up and he just started doing things. And then he started listening to what we were saying. And then he started, saying, hey, like, I didn't know all this stuff. Like, I didn't know that all the stuff that you're talking about. People don't know this stuff. And so then he like started getting involved in the production, and also like saying, well, why don't we change this up? Why don't we make this more like young and like whatever? And like, it was, we focused on YouTube, and then it's, that's how it kind of came on. But initially, like Pasta and I talk about this all the time now. When we started doing this, we were already involved in the activist community here. So, I did some work with for housing advocacy, and we were also friends with a lot of progressives who were trying to do the whole inside outside strategy, because initially a lot of people exited. And a lot of the burners and stuff I was friends with, but then some of them were like, all right, well, let's see if we can take the party over from the inside. So we initially started interviewing people from the activist community who were trying to like take the party over from the inside. We started talking to them, and that's who we became friends with. We're no longer friends with the vast majority of these people because they have gone a certain route. And it's really, especially with this, the boop boop situation, that has been extremely divisive. Trump was extremely divisive. January 6th was extremely divisive. The elections were extremely divisive. And of course, the squad and the worshiping of the squad, that all of those things, like, we're no longer about. I no longer believe that we can change the party from the inside. I think that's elusive. I think that's insanity. I think it's been tried and it's failed, and we're seeing it right now in front of us. And so, now we're like, no, we need direct action. We need general strikes. We need to support these activists who are doing things for Julian Assange in the streets, who are organizing against the anti-war movement, like, a bunch of people did at the End the Damn Wars protest, who are organizing against mandates, who are organized. Like, I don't care what it is, Medicare for All march. I mean, every single direct action that I've seen that I think has been something I agree with, I have participated in, whether I agreed with the organizers or not. Like, it's just, I think that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. Direct action, period. Mutual aid.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, especially since Biden took office. And at least before then, as shitty as Trump was, at least he was getting somewhat checked by the media. Granted, it was over mostly like this Russiagate shit that turned out to be a whole bunch of nothing. And but now that the golden boy Sleepy Joe has taken over, it's now gotten to the point where not only you got the mainstream media in their back pocket, you have the little toadies, the little fan club, the Jim Jones Kool-Aid drinkers, who will just defend them to the hilt. And you say, well, what have they done? I'm like you. I don't think electoral politics is going to do jack squat at this point. We have to apply immense outside pressure on these people.
Before, and it could have been done, right? Before maybe, but not at this point.
Right. Exactly. I mean, look at them now. They're just actors in a play.
They're actors. That's what I'm saying. Actors. It's like, I've been in that world. I know when people are faking it, like they're actors essentially right now. Like this is like, it's just so crazy to me. Like the whole, like the 180 that a lot of these people have done. I'm like, were they always like this? You know what I mean? It's like, now it's like, I don't trust any politician, to be honest. And just, yeah, like the level, I think in this country too, we've been like conditioned to worship people, right? Before it was celebrities, or, if you're into religion, you worship somebody. And it's like, I'm not an atheist. I believe that there is something bigger out there, right? I don't necessarily know what it is. I would say agnostic, maybe spiritual, whatever, but I'm definitely not religious, and like, I'm not dogmatic. So any sort of like just complete like worshiping of anybody for me makes me uncomfortable. And I see that people are more interested in finding a hero. And maybe, and I recognize, like when Bernie ran, I felt like, holy shit, if he wins, maybe we can change this situation. Maybe he can inspire a lot of us to change. But his whole campaign was not me, us. Like the whole campaign was, it's not about me. It's about all of you doing the work. So for me, that's why I liked it, because he was never like Hillary Clinton was like, right? Like, oh, this is about me. I'm with her. From the branding, it was about her. So I think a lot of people are forgetting that quote, that notion, right? It's not me, us. This is not about any figure. This is about the working people, the proletariat. So
it is. And Bernie did say, he basically said, look, fuck me. Do what you got to do. But then, when Joe got the nomination, he did the same thing he did with Hillary. Like, look, we need to get, we need to help him out. We need to help him out. But all the real people who took Bernie to heart said, no, I think we're going to stick to what you said before there, boss. We're not going to listen to you if you're talking this shit. And you are definitely talking shit. So, but you have to wonder, like, there was no way they were going to let him be the nominee. You knew that we saw all the mechanisms that was going on to keep him out of it. So we knew it wasn't going to happen. So if there was some miracle that he actually did get the nomination, he probably would have beat Trump. But I mean, how do you think he would have been as a president in this climate now? Do you think, I mean, Joe, I think he
would have been, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, we know Joe is like an open book. He is not he's not keeping any secrets about who he is. But Bernie is kind of a mystery. I mean, how do you think that would have played out?
I think Bernie Sanders would have been the closest thing to an FDR, and that's not necessarily a good thing. FDR enacted domestic policies that helped out a lot of people, but he also was an imperialist. Foreign policy wise, he was not great, obviously. He didn't really do enough for Black Americans at that time. This is why when people uphold FDR to that degree, it's like he wasn't at all like this figure that we should really admire. And like, that was one of the things, like, I also learned, like, I used to think FDR was great until I started learning even more about foreign policy and what he didn't do and what he did do. And so for me, I think Bernie Sanders would have been like an FDR. He still would have been, voting, like he voted for the AUMF. He voted for the war in Afghanistan. He's had his votes, first pro-imperialist votes. So he's definitely not great on foreign policy. So I think Bernie would have been that type of guy. But, one of the things that really irritated me about 2016 is Bernie did win. Like, he did win. That's the thing. And he would have won in 2022. we don't have a fair election system in this country. It is so blatantly obvious. I get tired of explaining it to people. We study elections. We know the ins and outs of how elections work. We have proprietary software. Public elections are run on software that is owned by private companies, of a private company, of another private company. Like, we can't even ask for audits. We can't even do any of that. And now any sort of questioning of any election, right, from here on out is going to be a right-wing talking point because the Republicans dared question an election. And so now that's also misguided, right? It's a right-wing thing to talk about, you know, free speech absolutism because the Republicans do it, or it's a right-wing thing to have hesitancy on the boop boop because the Republicans do it. And so you see this manipulation, this psychological warfare that we're experiencing, where they're trying to make it so hyper partisan for you to question things. And unfortunately, the left is going, a large contingent of the left is going right along with it, you know, just accepting and obeying. They want people to obey. Like what George Carlin said, they want people that are, you know, smart enough to be a good worker, but dumb enough to just like not question. And that's what people are doing. They're obeying instead of like revolting. Where is that revolution that all these people who, you know, who are obsessed with the squad talked about? Where one of the things that irritated me too about the squad is because I supported AOC heavily. I mean, we helped organize a breakfast and an entire fundraiser for AOC in California. And we had pushback from people who said, why are you guys doing that? She's a New York congresswoman, right? And our go-to was, well, you know what? She's really, we need to get more like her in office. So we're just going to help her out here and she's going to return the favor, hopefully. And so she took money from the working class. She took money from people who like believed in her, not just her, but Justice Democrats, right? And what the hell are they doing? They're doing nothing that they ran on. Nothing. They're in fact going right in line with the establishment. She just voted today to fund, well, she voted present when she changed her vote from no, and present we know can be an escape vote after talking to Nancy Pelosi, and, you know, Jamal Bowman voted yes to fund the Iron Dome. I mean, what
there's
the hell
a shock,
kind of progressives are these? Right?
Yeah,
what the hell kind of progressives are these? Like, they're not progressives. If that means, if Nancy Pelosi calls herself a progressive, that word has just been done.
Yeah,
it's
right.
done.
It'd be like they dig up Hitler and you know, in German he says "Und sein Sie progressive," and you're like, okay, all right. Now I think we can bury that term. I didn't mean to get you like into like fee rant mode. I mean I love it, but I wanted you to come on here and like I look at this show like your show and like all the other like important news shows are, you know, for the most part are like super serious, and you have to do it very serious because you want people to take you serious, right? So when you come on this show, I like to think of this place as like the bar you go to after work. You know what I mean? You may see some coworkers. You're like, hey, buddy. And then you could be kind of loose and you can say shit that you can't really say at work. You know, like, oh, yeah, that motherfucker. Yeah, I heard he's fucking Karen. Really? No fucking way. Yeah, man. They were in the bathroom like 3 days ago, man. She got her head stuck in the toilet. It was crazy. You didn't hear that story? Yeah, fuck. You know, so, but anyway, I mean, I love the fact, I want people to just feel as comfortable as possible, to be cathartic, to let all that shit out. And because we have to. What does they say? We laugh to keep from crying. And or in my case, I laugh because I don't have bail money. And I don't think I have enough money to get myself out of jail. So I gotta chill. But I wanted to share something with you.
We'll fund your bail.
Really?
We'll fund your bail. Yeah. It depends on what you do, though. If it involves something really good, for sure.
Oh, you're going to means test it? You're going to means test the bail money? Jesus Christ, you fucking shit lip.
How much it is. Like, come on. We'll do whatever we can. Jeez.
Jesus Christ. Look. Oh. Motherfuckers come on this show and they say, oh yeah, well, we'll bail you out for some reasons, but not all of them.
Well, if you rob an old lady Okay, that's different than if you, I don't know, throw an egg at Nancy Pelosi or something,
But
like that's.
what if it's an old lady that just kicked a puppy or something, and she's got fat stacks too, and she ain't doing nothing with that money? See, it's all about context. Yeah, she kicked the puppy too, so
yeah, you can't kick puppies. I love dogs. You can't.
And even if she didn't kick the puppy, I'm going to say she kicked the puppy just so I get that money. I know. Yes, I'm a very disappointing person. No. We got all kinds of little toys and tricks around here, so
pretty cool.
Yeah, we get a little bored around here in the Brooklyn Bat Cave, and sometimes you gotta use that creativity to do something. Speaking of creativity,
Brooklyn was where I first met AOC. I went to an event that was organized by Burners, and it was in a Brooklyn bar, and that's like the first time I met her.
Do you remember which bar it was? You remember which one it was?
I mean, if I looked back, I probably could. Yeah, I literally every single person that I pretty much went with, I am no longer friends with because they're all like still worshiping her. Like that's the thing. Like it's like you're supposed to progress, right? When you get new information, you're supposed to be like, okay, I have new information. I'm going to process that in my brain, and I'm going to change my strategy and my tactics because what we were doing before no longer works, or what these people did was wrong. So I'm going to hold them accountable. But it seems like some people are stuck in 2015, 2016. Like they're stuck there forever, like still doing the same thing, still like, worshiping the same politicians who have let them down. And so all of that just ended. And like with AOC, it's just weird because I'm beginning to think I started thinking this a while ago, that she was never who she was. And so just based on her previous, with the Kennedy and with taking pictures with politicians and all these things. Right. And so now I'm like, holy shit, there's so many people that have turned their back on us, and friends too that we had that were a part of organizing and stuff that completely just started being complete. It's almost like this whole what's happened has hypnotized people or something. I've never seen anything like it. Right. So it's kind of hard to trust people now. It's kind of hard to to have faith in anything, and especially in people. So I'm afraid we're losing our humanity a little bit. I'm afraid we're losing the empathy we had for people, because now you're hearing a lot of people on the left, it started with the whole Trump January 6th thing. People called me a Nazi collaborator because I thought it was wrong for a cop to shoot Ashley Babbitt. I thought that was wrong. And I'm like, no, he shouldn't have shot her. That's wrong. And they're like, well, she's a Nazi. Nazis deserve to get shot. I'm like, she's not a Nazi. She's a Trump supporter. Okay. And no, if we're going to start shooting people that everybody calls a Nazi, I'm telling you, some of these people call anybody to the right of freaking Kamala Harris a Nazi. It's just I don't even know what a Nazi is. They'll call me a Nazi. It's just it's lost any sort of real traction. And so people will just this person's a Nazi, that person's a Nazi. And the whole, it's okay to kill somebody because I disagree with their belief is wrong. It's the same thing the right does. It's okay because cops were just doing their jobs. And so then that got worse now with the boop boop and the pandemic, because people are like, oh, well, these people who did not take the boop boop shouldn't receive help from the hospital. And it's what are you talking about? This is awful.
That's what scares me, is that dividing the people like that. And especially with all this information coming out with even if you get the boop boop, you can still get the woogie boogie, and you can still spread the woogie boogie. And but people don't want to wrap their heads around that, because if they do, then it's oh shit, they realize we're nowhere near over with this stuff, right? They're so ready, and I understand, like, you know, you got locked down, and you don't want to go through all this bullshit that we've been going through for the last year and a half or two, and but you can't just try and force people to put shit into their bodies just so you can get back to whatever normalcy that you were enjoying before all this. Some of us would like to change. Some of us want to take this opportunity to change and make things better for everybody with the situations that we have now. But it seems like instead of that happening, things are now getting worse, and we're starting to see more and more like what's happening in Australia with, you know, crackdowns and people getting, you know, their ass beat just because they want to go to the store to get a gallon of milk or, you know, some ridiculous shit like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's funny, I'm going to quote Nicki Minaj, but if they cared about your health, they would give you health care, bozos. What, like, we don't have Medicare for all in this country. Something so basic. You know, it doesn't have to be Bernie's Medicare for all and Jayapal's Medicare for all. It can be universal health care. I don't care what you freaking call it. If they cared about you, they would promote that. They would say, let's give people this during a pandemic. They would also not make it so damn expensive for healthy food to be available to everybody. It's expensive to get healthy food. It's very cheap to eat unhealthy. We have chemicals in this country that are outlawed. If you go to Europe, if you go to any other country, they're not allowed to have those chemicals in there, in the food, in some of the things that are in any sort of a house, the paint, all of the stuff. Like, if they cared about your health, you know, our life expectancy in this country has gone down, while the life expectancy in countries like Japan and Italy is going up. People live well into their 80s over there without a problem. So what, like, if this isn't about your health, and that's the thing. And like, they get a lot of the left to really like sort of buy into their bullshit through the pathos, through sounding like they care, right? Oh, you care about this old lady. You gotta take the boop boop because you don't want to hurt her, right? These people who refuse, they're the problem. If they all just got it, then we would be able to go back to normal. People want to go back to normal. So what they do is they do everything they can because they that's all they know. And it's cognitive dissonance, because in spite of the data and the information that's out there, people refuse to look at it because it's this cognitive dissonance. Like, they can't accept that, like, that things are this bad, and that the government is this bad, and that, you know, politicians are this bad, and that we pretty much have no friends in DC, that we have ourselves. And so accepting all of that is really hard. It's really dark. And I find it interesting how, like, people, you know, George Carlin would say these things and people would laugh, right? I find that very interesting, because if he said those things to me today, I would be like, you know, and I didn't know those things, I'd be like, holy shit. Like, I wouldn't be laughing. But it's yeah, like, you know, I appreciate comedians that talk about what's going on in the world, right? George Carlin, Jimmy Dore, what's the name of the guy that's really funny, and he's Tim Dillon. He's really great.
Oh, Tim Dillon, yeah. He's hysterical. He's hysterical, and he's smart. He's extremely smart with his jokes. I love intellectual jokes. Like, it's not just very obvious. It's like you kind of have to think about it a little bit, and I love that. And I didn't know I love that. I'm not like easily amused with comedy. Like, it has to be something that like really, really gets me. So I've never been a huge watcher of comedians, but like, yeah, like those I find very funny and very effective in what they do. Because I think sometimes, you know, it's too heavy, like you said, like to sit there and go through the news, and it's so negative and negative and negative. And, you know, we should always provide solutions as well, which is what I love about Franco's panels, where he has the solutions panels to a lot of things. Yeah. I love how he does that. He's really great at panels. And so, you know, we should be doing that. But like, in spite of all of that, right, what's happening is so dire and dark. Like,
sometimes you do need a little bit of comedy to like help you, to like make you feel like, okay, like at least I can laugh about this, because if I don't, then it gets really serious. And, you know, there's times to be serious, but there's also like, you know, you do need those breaks and self-care and stuff. Like I have to work out and go to the gym and do all these things, because if I don't, it like drives me crazy. Like I have to release some sort of energy, you know, because, and it's funny, like when I go get a massage, sometimes I went not that long ago and they're like, wow, you hold a lot of tension and you're like here in this area. And it's like you have the weight of the world. And I'm like, kind of. Well, you do. Knowing all this shit, like just knowing all this stuff, like anytime you talk to somebody that's, you know, not involved in this, you know, my friends who aren't political at all, they'll start talking about stuff with me. And I'm like, sometimes I'll do it. And sometimes, you know, like when we went on vacation, it was my friend's birthday. And I was like, I want a break. Like, don't ask me questions. Like, leave me alone. Let's talk about, I don't know, dolphins and like whatever. Like, it's just, yeah.
Well, I've got a little treat. I've got a little treat for you here. That's what we try to do here on this show. It's like, you know, we talk about important things, but we try to be silly, try to be kind of laid back, because I think people tend to give a little bit more of themselves in conversation when they know they feel comfortable. They know they're not being like grilled or anything like that. You know, they don't have to worry about talking points that they have to remember for, oh, what kind of show am I going on, this, that kind of thing. You come here, have a drink, you know, you want to smoke a little bit, do whatever you want, man. And, you know, this is free America, Brooklyn right in here. So, but I've got this little treat for you. It's I think it's about a couple of minutes long, but it's one of the things I love about the Convo Couch. Besides the information is great, but when you guys are, yeah, I think you kind of know what's coming. It's all right though. It's all right. We're in a safe place. This is a safe place. So the interaction between you and Pasta, some of the things you guys do, it's just let's just show the kids here. This should be fun.
Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
Jesus Christ. What's up, guys? It's V.
Fam, he is the most progressive president since FDR. Not R.
Happy Labor Day, y'all. I'm Pasta Jardula.
Jesus Christ.
Cheese and rice, please.
Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of Italian Roman Catholics out here.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's a new shirt.
Fantastic. That's a little... That was cheesy for me, but could work. I don't know.
You know, for pasta, that's like right in the wheelhouse.
Yeah. That's like...
Cheese McGee's.
Oops.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Convo Couch. This is Pasta Jardula here.
It's afternoon, and I'm Fiorella.
Run, and then I'll run back 3 blocks. Run, fat boy, run.
He's saying it's...
Closer to your mouth, make sure.
Oh. He's saying it's as close to my mouth as it gets without me like putting my mouth around it. So anyway,
it is always appreciated on the couch.
It's too much.
Okay, that was a bad one. I know. I'm gonna work on that one.
His boomer jokes.
I know, but then also you can get over to the rock.
And he's not even a boomer. I have to protect Pasta at all costs because he's the cook.
Can I be Sexy P and her be Jolly Fee?
I'm not jolly.
Fam, you know who's too much?
You?
No.
I speak with an Italian accent to the basil, right? Unless it's Thai basil, then, you know. But you know most basil, I'm like, how you doing? You feel good? I'll give you some water.
Damn, that's... your Brooklyn accent's much better. I heard you are collaborating with...
A bread and round alliance.
Red and brown
I
alliance.
know.
God, that Brooklyn... Then I'm really good at darts.
Also, always appreciated on the couch.
Your transitions need work, fam.
I know. Well, just, you know.
Fam, it's afternoon.
It's morning in Hawaii. Aloha! I am Pasta Jardula. It swaps words. It gets like Yiddish. Gotta start the show off right, fam. Gotta get you all cray.
Hi, everybody. What's going on? What's going on?
Okay.
I don't do tricks, remember?
I know. I'm just asking if you wanted to. I'm being a gentleman. It is always appreciated on the couch.
Yeah, fam. Wow.
Oh, are you jolly? No. I got bolognese on the stove, eggplant getting ready to
Not
freaking
eating
bake.
any of that.
I got all this beautiful stuff.
Too many carbs.
Fam.
It could be funny.
Good.
It could be funny.
Oh. Not R. Oh.
Oh.
Here we go.
Well, hold on.
Oh yeah, I had a blast
pretty
putting
funny.
that together. That was so great.
That's pretty funny. Yeah,
I'm ready to start. I'm ready to start. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, if only you saw the interactions we have off camera, which
boy.
Like I told Pasta, we need to put some of those on the Patreon or some Rock Premium or something, because I don't want people to see all of it. But like it's like
Convo Couch behind the scenes. Smoky. Oh yeah. I would love to see Pasta just baked as a cake.
Oh.
He's always so manic when he's on there. He's got all this energy, but I just want to see like fam. Oh, I'm gonna go cook something.
No, he's gone down on the coffee consumption, which is good, but he smokes a lot, actually, like a lot. So
really,
it's I think it's the ADHD thing. Like it's just very like hyper, a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy. It's a big presence, right? A lot of energy.
I get that. I mean, I was hyper my whole life too. So it's like, and when I first started, when I started smoking pot, it was like, woo, But I think I did more of the sativa kind of more of the head high stuff. Yeah. But where I grew up down south, sativa. It was like the Alabama ditchweed, which was basically like this Delta 8 or whatever shit that you get at the bodega over here. I want to join the Bread Round Alliance. Where can I sign up for that? Ask Pasta where the sign up sheet for the Bread Round Alliance is, because I want in, because I like bread and
they
circles.
love bread, so it's like the Bread Brown Alliance.
And the cheese, like the Italian cheese is round, so it's like the Bread Round Alliance. It's always appreciated on the couch, fam. So let's
funny.
Let's switch some gears here. Let's talk about how long have you lived in LA? You're not from there originally, right? But you've lived there a good while, right?
8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
8 years. Yeah. Okay. So you moved there. I was there from
2013.
Okay. I moved there I was there for the whole almost the whole Bush presidency. So I moved there in 2003 with a buddy, and then I moved here to New York in 2009, not long after Obama got inaugurated. But when I lived out there, I heard you and Misty talking last night on her show about how people who work retail are kind of more grounded and kind of got their eyes on things and see more of what's going on, because they have to. It's the nature of living that life. You're not making big bucks, and you're so you have to kind of make adjustments in your life in order to live that kind of life. But I used to work. You said you got there in 2013, right? So this would have been. You don't remember Borders Books, do you? That was
I do. They had them in Florida and all over. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I worked. There was one in Glendale on Brandon Broadway, and then I moved over to the one. I think it was on Sunset and Vine, right across from the movie place with the dome and the amoeba, and I think they're both Walgreens now. I think all the one here on Wall Street turned into a half Walgreens, half TD Bank, because it was like a pretty big space that they were using. But
yeah,
that's how I met people out in LA, was through Borders, you know. And I got to tell you, that was probably, as far as retail goes, we got very lucky. Our management was just fantastic, super laid back. The crew, for the most part, I think, you know, you maybe had one or two fuckers in the bunch, but for the most part, everybody was chill. You know, it was a great spot. And that's one of the things I loved about California, was the California chill. You know what I mean? Everybody was cool. Everybody was working class, but, you know, we worked hard, but then we party hard too, you know. And and I enjoyed that lovely weather out there. Although it was funny, one summer, I think it was the last summer I was there. So I told you, I'm from the South, so I'm used to like humidity and shit like that. When I go to California out there, it was like none of that, and I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
But there was one summer. It actually got a little humid. Like it was. To me, it wasn't bad, but.
Right.
To everybody that was there, you would have thought that they were like in the Amazon jungle or something like that. Like it was like they were coming out just like, why? Where did this water come from? You know, and I'm like, dude, it's humidity.
Yeah. And when it rains too, oh my God, people drive the worst here when it rains, because it never rains. So when it rains, I don't even want to go outside, because people there's so many accidents. Like they drive like squirrels. Like they're just so afraid of a little bit of water. Like I'm used to driving through, you know, thunderstorms in the East Coast too. So like that, you know, like, yeah, it's crazy.
Well, especially on the freeway too. When I moved out there, I didn't have a driver's license. I still know how to drive. I was like, I didn't want to drive anymore. And which was kind of an odd choice when you live in a town where you basically have to drive for the most part. But I found ways. I took the trains. You know, I used to live on Normandy between Wilshire and 8th in Koreatown there. That was the last place. I loved that neighborhood. It was so great. No gentrification anywhere. I think I was the only white person who lived in that neighborhood, and it was beautiful. There was a liquor store right across the street. There was this great...
Not like that anymore.
Yeah. I know. When I left, it was starting to get like gentrified, and I was like, well... And I said, well, I'll go to New York where all the culture is, and then I get here, and all this shit's gentrified too. So it's like, there's only like 2 areas of New York, I think, that haven't been gentrified yet, and they're pretty crime-ridden areas. But still, it's like, it's sad because, I think my lady friend was telling me that since now that they got these the passports, the mandates and stuff. Mm-hmm. More people are starting to come back to New York, but what they're doing is they're coming back to rents that are just like double what they were before, and they weren't cheap before then.
Yeah,
Jeez. So now they're coming back, but it's these people that had been working at home that have like maybe like 6-figure. You pretty much have to have a 6-figure income to live in New York proper. I got extremely lucky. My landlord is like old school. He bought like 3 buildings in the 70s for like $30,000 a piece, and now they're worth like 100 times that. But he's not selling. He knock on wood, he hasn't raised my rent in 8 years, and it's like, so I have like total loyalty to this dude. He's one of the rare landlords that's like, he works with you and stuff. He doesn't want you to go, and his rents are fairly cheap too. So it's like, but once he ain't no spring chicken. Once he leaves this mortal coil, it'll probably end up in some corporate hands, and well, you know the rest of that story.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And just going back to, you talked about working retail. I've worked so many jobs. Like when I was in high school, I didn't really work. I mean, I would babysit, but I worked as a lifeguard. I've worked as like in the service industry as I started as a hostess, and I worked in the service industry for over 10 years. I worked at a radio station. I've worked at 2 radio stations,
really?
Actually.
Were you on air?
I'm sorry, what?
Were you on air at the radio station?
Well, I did this one, the one here, it was, God, I already forgot the name because it's just badly, it got co-opted and corrupted, of course, by big money interests. There's one here that I did do a segment of the news on the air, but the one that I worked when I was younger I was just doing, promotions, like, PR, basically managing, doing all that stuff in Florida. And then what else? I mean, I just I've worked retail too, like in fashion. It's just crazy because all the stuff that I've done, like, it's just kind of one of the reasons why I'm extremely I'm extremely aware of being able to talk to all kinds of people, is because when you work in those industries, you get to talk to all kinds of people. Right. And it's different than being in a cubicle in a corporation. And I know people have to do those jobs, and I know some people enjoy them. I'm not shitting on that at all, but it's not for everybody. And whenever I worked in the service industry, I was the one that was like, they're not giving you your breaks. They're not being fair with the way they're doing this. Like, this manager's got to go. I've gotten managers that were exploiting people fired because they were exploiting people. And I've always been I was always like that. Like, just like, this isn't fair. Like, you need to be fair to these people. And you could tell, like, that these people who worked for the corporate sectors, one of my first jobs as a server was in the Olive Garden, and that was like hell. I mean, now it's even worse. Like, I can't imagine the poor people who work at that place, but it used to actually have decent food, for, American, like, wannabe Italian, not really Italian food. But it's just like the whole, most people there were students or if they weren't, they were like mothers supporting, their kids. And I was just always wondering how the hell a lot of these women who had a child could survive on some of that. Because in Florida, for instance, the server wage was like $4.25. So if you didn't get tipped, you wouldn't make money, because that's what it is in the South. Those are the wages. When I came to California, I was like, wow, you get paid, like, you actually get a check. That's great. So it just teaches you a lot of, like, humility. I honestly think if I were a president or anybody with any power, the one mandate I would do would be, like, having people work in a restaurant, like, for some time, to just get them to, like, understand what that's like, literally, just for one fucking second. It humbles people. It makes people more tolerant. It makes people deal with, like, any sort of circumstance that comes at you at any moment. Like, you can't, and Missy and I were talking about it. Like, I have ADD too. I thrive in that environment, especially as a bartender. Like, I like doing multiple things at once. My brain works that way. There's so many things going on that if I just have to sit here and do this in this order, I will go insane. So, there has to be some sort of order, but it's like organized chaos. Right, so it just worked really well for me.
I do the organized chaos too. And it's like, I can't explain the system to anybody because it's my own little system. By the time I explain it to them, I could already had the shit done because I know how to do it, in your own way. And you touched on I think you're right. It's like kind of like how Israel says you have to be in the military for 2 years. I think the Americans that should have to be in retail for like at least a year. You get 1 year, some shit job that, like, okay, make the best of it. When you come out after the year, let's see how you are. Because when I worked down south,
a few months, but
you're too lenient. You're too lenient. You're too lenient. You're such a sweet person. I'm an asshole. I would enforce that year too. It'd be like
you authoritarian.
1 minute to midnight. I'm like, dude, can I go? It's like, I still own you for 1 minute, motherfucker. 1 more minute, fuckface. But I worked in TV and radio for like about 12 years, so I wasn't in that environment. I was always around people like who wore ties and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of the people that I worked with were pretty real, but they weren't like, even they had this disconnect with what was like retail people. I mean, they knew what blue collar workers and stuff were doing, but they weren't living that life themselves.
Yeah.
So, right. But when I got out of it, when I moved to LA, that's all I did was retail. I did retail. I was there for about 5.5 years, and then I moved here. And it's funny how you said how you would kind of be like the rabble rouser. I like that. I was kind of like that. We had I worked at Trader Joe's over here on Court Street in Brooklyn, and I worked there for about 4.5 years. And they didn't have any sort of way to even communicate with each other as far as like if you wanted to swap shifts and stuff like that. It was always just kind of like it was almost like a fishing expedition, to try and see who would do that. So what I did was I set up a Facebook page just for us. It was a private page. And I would go to all the cool kids that I knew weren't narcs or feds or whatever and say, hey, we got this thing. You want to come in? And eventually we got like a whole almost, all of the people in the store except for the fuckers. No fuckers allowed. That rule still applies in all aspects of life. No fuckers allowed. But it was like, so what happened was it had started off, it was called like Swap Central or something like that. And it was just like if you wanted to swap shifts. But then people started talking to each other and people were talking about, yeah, did you know about this shit going on? What? Didn't know about that. So it was almost like it became like a communications hub for people that couldn't speak freely out on the sales floor or even in the store in general. So it was like, I felt kind of proud of that. It wasn't like I put much effort into it. I mean, how much effort is there to put into making a Facebook page? But it helped them, and it helped me too. And I always thought communications has always been my thing. With I think you could have the greatest ideas, the greatest solutions, the greatest plans. You could probably have like the Rosetta Stone to figuring out like everything we could do. But if you can't communicate it with anybody else, if you're just like, these shit libs that just like, oh, we can't work with them. Oh, we can't work with them. We can't work with them. Well, the bitch, who you gonna work with? Who you gonna fucking work with? You're like, what, you yourself? You in the bubble? You and your little pals? Yeah, you gotta work with people.
People have never worked with people they don't like. Like, have you, do you, what?
Do you not have family members? I mean, I'm sure there's some family members that you probably can't stand, but you still got to work with them because, hey, the family, So it's like kind of take that microcosm, spread it out to like these other people that you wouldn't normally deal with. But yeah, it's like, finding common interests and stuff like that. So it's, I wanted to tell you, I warned you about this. These shows go by quick. We've been doing this for an hour, and that doesn't include like the little intro and shit like that. So can you hang out for a few more minutes?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make like a sign whenever you're ready to go. It's like, hey, listen, the biscuits are burning. I got to get them out of the oven. And I'll be like, oh, okay, she's got to go. She's got to go.
It's funny. Pasta makes fun of me. I do not bake or cook. Really, I can. I mean, I
can microwave the shit. I can microwave the shit out of stuff, but that's about it.
And it sucks. My mother is such a great cook. Like, she's awesome. So were my grandmothers. My grandmother, one of them is still alive. She doesn't really cook anymore though. She's just elderly. My other one who passed away was a great cook. They're it's just, Latina women are supposed to be great cooks, and I just rebelled against that. I've rebelled against every single thing. Never wanted to be a Girl Scout. Didn't want to go to church, Catholic church. Like, I was fighting with my mom when I was like 9 about like not going to church. I refused to go do my communion. I never did my confirmation. My brother and my sister both followed through with it, but I never did. I was like, these people are hypocrites and they're liars. Like I was like at like 10 years old or less. And so then I never did that. And then what else did I do? I never joined a sorority. I could never have that hive mind thing. It was expensive too. I had a friend.
You're paying for friends. You're paying for friends, basically. They say business connections, but you're paying for friends.
But yeah, most of them didn't like me anyway, because I'm very much like about like a collectivist sort of thought, but also just valuing people's individuality. And I just don't like when you're like a cult, when you're like saying the same things, all of you at the same, like, it's just weird to me. What else? I rebelled against all of that stuff. So when my mother wanted me to like cook and stuff to learn how to, do that stuff, I was like, I don't want to do that because, I'm not going to be a housewife for anybody. And then they just never enforced it. So it's not like I can't do it. I'm just probably really bad at it. I've survived. They used to have Fresh and Easy here. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a store that had like,
we got those here. We have those
that
here.
Was like packaged, and it was easy to like bake and cook. That's what I used to eat. They got rid of that store. I was devastated. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to make things. And so, yeah, but Pasta is my roommate and he literally cooks amazing. So it's great. Like now, if I was living by myself for a while. So when I go back to living by myself, then, it's different. But I also, Pasta's like the carb situation. You heard me mention, like he loved to make pastas. Pasta loves pasta. And I'm like, you cannot do that to me. I cannot have all that pasta. It's bad. So
well, if
I love pasta.
I'll give you my mailing address. If he could cook some pasta for me and like kind of vacuum seal it and just FedEx it, I'll pay for the shipping and all that. But I bet he is so good because I can smell the cooking through the internet. Or I may be having a stroke. It's one of the two. Yeah, it's either smell-o-vision or stroke-o-vision. I'm hoping the former. Because my insurance, I don't really have insurance that well in the, Anyway, long story short, tell him to send me some free food, if you wouldn't mind. So I just wanted to say that I was in the Boy Scouts for about 5 minutes, but I got kicked out for eating brownies.
That's a terrible reason to get kicked out. Like, seriously? Come on.
Yeah, that's kind of a dirty joke, and I'm kind of glad I got that out of my system. So anyway, I just wanted to use the crickets thing. So I got all kinds of little tools here at my disposal. But I don't want to go crazy. But I do want to show you something here before. I can't believe it. It's been over an hour. These times it just flies. It flew by. Bah!
It flew by yesterday too when I was on with Misty. I was like, holy shit, like that did not feel like an hour at all. Like,
it's that kind of like whenever you're not being interviewed or you're not interviewing somebody, because you kind of know how the pace of it's going. When you're just like talking whatever the fuck you want to talk about, the next thing you know, it's like two stoners on the couch. The next thing you know, it's sun up. You're hungry. You're like, fuck, dude, we've been sitting there talking all night.
That sounds like a great podcast name. Two stoners on the couch.
Two stoners on the couch, it's just them like, oh man, how do they make raisins? They're like old grapes, dude. What? And then, you go and you see like the memes with the mathematicals, equations floating by, and he's trying to figure out how raisins work. But I wanted to show you this.
Marijuana enlightens you, okay? So do mushrooms. I'm just throwing that out there. Like, I was a huge fan of Terrence McKenna for a while before I was political.
Yes.
So I love all that stuff. Yeah. I don't do it often. Steve Poikonen actually had some chocolates and he gave me some the other day, and I took 2 little ones, and I was so chill. We were watching Tim Dillon. It was great. I think the awakening, like not the woke culture, but the actual awakening really helped with mushrooms. Like the things I've thought of on mushrooms or on marijuana, like it's I don't know, they make you realize things. And it's interesting. Like I've always, that was my thing with psilocybin and marijuana, is like, why is a plant and a mushroom illegal, but like alcohol is not? Like, it's just like, for me, it's just like, why is alcohol, like, it's a poison, right? Like, and it's, sure, it can be enjoyable, but like, it's a poison. And like all these barbiturates and all these opioids, like, they're so bad for you. All the things like that people take for depression. And I just think if we fix this, if society weren't this fucking system, people wouldn't be as depressed. They really, really, I firmly believe that. In other countries, if you go, and I've traveled to Europe too, I studied abroad. It's, you know, you just see how things could be done another way. And you see how here we're like constantly like working and like constantly on the move. And in other countries, like I really loved Italy. I really loved Italy and Greece, and like how people are just like having wine, they're laid back. Even in France, in certain parts of France, they're more like laid back. They're more like, you know, they drink because it's a social thing to do, not because they want to get fucked up to forget about whatever issue they have, right?
Yeah,
it's like, it's a whole different kind of mentality there.
Don't like the kids are like drinking at like 12 or something, but they're not like pouring them back. They're just like having it with dinner. Yeah, they're just having it with dinner or something like that. Just like we would drink like water or a soda or something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've never been overseas, and I'm always jealous of people that do. They get to travel. I always have this joke. I say, yeah, I studied abroad once, but she caught me, and then she beat the shit out of me.
I got that one. No, that was good.
No, I use those crickets a lot. These jokes are about as flat.
I don't know. You and Pasta might have fun with some of your jokes. I don't know.
I want to get at some point. I want to get Pasta and Johnny on. See what's been going on. I enjoy doing the show, and all the guests that I've had a blast with everybody. But I gotta be honest with you, it's a fucking sausage fest. All right, it was all dudes, all older dudes around my age, which is great. But it's like someone who's younger, someone who's a woman, someone who has a different perspective. I would like to have women on the show. And next week, which is a good little segue, next week, your buddy, comrade Misty, she's going to be on here. And I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to let her talk for like an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just going to be
like, a lot. I feel like I talk a lot too when I get into it, but like
it's great.
Even more. Like she's just like, yeah, it's hard. And it's funny because she said she said she thought she was an introvert. I don't know if that's the case.
Wow, really?
You know, I told her maybe she's an ambivert. I don't know. But like I told her, like, you know, when her voice, everything, her demeanor, like I could see her working at a bar. Like I've worked with people like Misty. You know what I mean? Like I just see her being like, especially at a sports bar. I'm not a sports person, but I've worked at a sports bar before. But they weren't my favorite bars. I liked making like fancy drinks, like like real fancy drinks, like with, you know, like basil and like all this stuff. Like that was kind of my thing. But
damn scientist.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see Misty like, you know, like just that type of like chill. Yeah, like I know you can tell she smokes weed. Yeah, I get along with people who smoke weed. If you don't smoke weed, you're sus.
No, yeah, or you're broke. That one of the two, because we don't have the dispensaries here yet, so we still have to do old school. I have my guy. Yeah. And I've been a little dry in the funds lately, which is good. So because it gives me time, because you know how the tolerance builds, and then you're just smoking just to be smoking. It's like that's no good. So and you're not really productive. And so I took like I think I've been off of it for about 3 weeks, and now I'm finding that I'm a little bit more productive. I do get like a little sometimes, and I want to have some, but I'm like, no, let me get it out of my system, and then the next time I have it, it'll be. Feels like the first time. Yeah. Ooh, I don't like doing anything every day, right? Like not even coffee, like every day. I don't like any sort of dependency on any sort of anything.
Like because then you just become so like I noticed it too with melatonin because I have trouble sleeping. That is my thing. I do have trouble sleeping. So that's partially why I usually smoke weed for sleeping. And it was for the ADD too. The sativa did help sometimes, but I don't do it every day. You know, I wouldn't say I'm a stoner. I would say like, but I prefer weed above pretty much everything else. But yeah, no, I just think like your body gets so used to it, like caffeine. There was a point where I was in college and I was having so much caffeine to like study and all this stuff. And like, I took a 5-hour energy drink and I literally passed out like within 10 minutes because it had no effect. So, yeah. So you just learn not to have like things every single fucking day.
Yeah, I'm like an all in. I mean, I do, and I try to. What's funny is I know how to budget weed. So like if I'm about to be out, then I'll just have like little one hitters or something like that, and that I'm like, why wasn't I doing this the whole time? Because I could have been like stretched this out the whole way, and so for me, it's like I'm kind of glad to take the breaks because it's like I will like if it's near me, I will fucking smoke it. I am just like a moth to a flame, baby. Just like gimme, I will. And the coffee I gotta have the coffee every day. And yes,
yeah,
I'm very disappointing. Very disappointing. So sorry, it's my life. And speaking of disappointing. The king of Segway, I have a really, really bad video that I produced yesterday that is just awful. It's going to make the one I showed with you and Pasta look like Schindler's List. Okay, this is just so. We're talking like Sharknado quality, not even that good.
Oh God.
So the setup is so. Like we were talking earlier, you were getting your rant on, which was awesome about all these fuckers that aren't doing anything to squad. So I was thinking like, well, you know, they have it seems like the parliamentarian is like this, you know, a Zeus on Olympus cannot be defeated, right? So what's the only thing that could possibly stop the parliamentarian? And that is the strongly worded letter. But let's see how that plays out, if you will.
Let's cause a ruckus.
Not so fast, bitches. Oh, snap, it's the parliamentarian. I'm your president now, motherfucker.
Who? We'll never get anything done now.
I got an idea. Let's do a protest.
Damn, girl. You low on fundraising, too?
Mm-hmm. I know who can help us.
Of course. Why didn't we think of it sooner?
Think of what? A strongly worded letter, silly beans. You called? Nope. We're sending you to the president's office.
Yeah, that'll show those negative Nazis that we're for real.
Did someone say ice cream?
Mr. President, I'm here, so... Boo!
Silly piece of paper. Joe's not in charge.
Oh, hail the mighty parliamentarian.
You goddamn right. Well, at least I gave it a shot.
You sure did, buddy. You sure did.
All right, that's what we call in the biz filler.
The AOC impression was spot on. Okay, come on.
Yeah, the jackasses that did the voiceovers, I have to apologize. Central casting is not exactly what it's been in the past. So I think these were some cast-offs that didn't quite make the cut, but were willing to do it for like a cheeseburger or something like that. So
hey, when you have a micro budget, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
You make a stretch. You stretch it, baby. Yeah. You gotta stretch that dollar bill.
Exactly. That was hilarious.
Well, I know. I wanted you to see that because, I wanted you to know that whatever productions, any kind of editing and stuff that you do in the future, it will be a million times better than that garbage that you just saw. So, but I appreciate the pity laughs. I will take them. You might say no, they're genuine, and I will say no, you're full of shit. But I will still take your pity laughs because that's how I roll. I don't look a gift person in the mouth. I don't want to make a horse reference because then somebody will talk about paste and anyway that's a whole nother story. So, well, listen, I do want to keep you, but I don't want to keep you. I know you're busy. I want to just put up here real quick, let me see here, some information about the show. It's the Convo Couch. You guys are on Rockfin, YouTube, and Odyssey. You do your more spicy stuff on the Rockfin and Odyssey. I noticed that. The boop boop and the boogie woogie and the woogie boogie and the jibber jabber and the Haas and Pfeffer, whatever the hell we're calling it these days. And so this is Fiorella at Fiorella I am, and Craig Pasta Jardula, love pasta. Tell them that no amount is too little or too much of pasta to send to me. So, and I will send them some vacuum bags. And there's Johnny Sue on the ones and twos up there too. That's their information right there. So, we should do this again sometime in the future. Maybe when we have flying cars. I'm still waiting on those. I don't know if we're ever going to get like Medicare for all or any of that shit. The 12-year-old in me that is saying, where's these fucking flying cars? And someday I'll let the 12-year-old out. So, because he's probably needs some air. Are you okay? Is everything good? Did you have a good time? It was just like a weird experience for you. Were you like, this was
nice.
It was like an hour and a half that you'll never get back. It's okay. I like the rejection. I'm good with abuse. I've learned over the years.
Apparently you like abuse. Jeez. That's a story for another time, maybe.
Well, maybe extra Bulla after dark. Ooh, the salty and the
after dark shows. Did you see the one I did with Kim Iverson on Rockfin?
No.
We did something with Kim Iverson and we were all drinking. That was a funny one.
Was it a Rockfin exclusive? Okay, I'll check for that out. I want to see you broads getting like, fuck these guys. There's never enough. There's never enough.
Yeah.
Fee, you are awesome.
It was fun. Thank you.
Yes, we'll do this again. You know what? One day I want to get you and Misty on at the same time, and all I'm going to do. God. I'm gonna put the 3-shot up, and I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna let you guys just because you're much more entertaining than I am. See, I'm turning into a ghost, and but I love this is what the show is all about is getting very interesting people like yourself on here. Just let it all hang out, talk about whatever you want, and just feel good and enjoy. We have little sillies, In fact, I always say, if you want to come on the show, be an asshole, but...
You're not such an asshole after all.
No, you were right. I'm just your kind of asshole.
That was Misty yesterday. I'm an asshole. Because she was Carol's always late. I'm like, I was here, and you gave me the wrong link. But
Ooh, I know, right? That's like...
asshole.
Yes, I think there's two kinds of assholes in the world. There's the good assholes, and then there's the fuck you assholes, all right? Those assholes are just like, fuck that guy, that piece of shit, fuck that guy, he's an asshole. But you don't want to use asshole because it's kind of like you have your fun assholes, you know? You love the ones you love, you know? But, yeah, so we'll be doing more stupid, moronic shit like this with intelligent people to help kind of balance it out. So I think that's what works. So, Fee, I want to just say thank you so much for being on, and we'll get you back on here soon. Can you hang on just a second? I'm going to close this fucker out, and we'll have a little chit-chat before we go. Cool.
Okay.
Like I said, that is Fiorella Isabel from the Convo Couch. Did you guys move? I'm sorry. The Convo Couch, not located in the Congo. Rockfin, Odyssey, YouTube. They're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There's all the deets right there for the kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Uncle Warren. It's been fun. This was a blast. I was nervous as hell because of the technical stuff. Thank goodness all that worked out. And so we had a blast. And like I said, next week we're going to have Comrade Misty on here. And while she talks, I'm going to go down to the bodega and get a sandwich. And by the time I get back, she should be wrapped up. So thank you so much, Fee. I love you, fam. Tell all the rest of the fam I said, hey, yo, from the East Coast.
Thank you.
And we will see you assholes. Oh, but wait a minute. Before we go, let me shout out the chat here. We had about 17 people at one point. Gamer for Life, MSG, Velvet Trance, Mandy Jones, Kino, Lucky Burrito, Steve Cutler Live, Reef in the house. Yeah, I know, right? You brought them. I've never had this bigger crowd before. 17 people. What the hell? It's like, you know, I get a little scared. I need an adult. We got Spittin' Venoms in the house. Who else we got over here? Fred Edward and looks like some other folks. I said Steve Cutler. Mariana. Who else here? And Misty was in the house too for a little bit too. She may have gone dark. That's fine. I don't care. I think she probably ran for the hills when all the craziness went down. Thank you so much, Fee. I never know how to end these things. So I'm just going to say thanks a lot, y'all. Have a great night. We'll see you next week. 7 o'clock on the East Coast, 4 o'clock Pacific, right here on YouTube, Extra Bulla. Peace out, home slice. And don't forget, wash your fucking ass, okay? Wash it. It's just so dirty.